I think I was horrified when I was getting the shocks because they were intense and I didn't understand them. And I just wanted them to stop. And then they did the ice pick procedure in less than 10 minutes. I did not know even after the lobotomy that I had a lobotomy. I think the anger, if there's any anger involved, is that they would have the nerve to play with someone's life like that. And we tend to react only after they have committed an act that's atrocious, instead of trying to prevent the act.
Today's story is not one of the usual ones I bring you. It isn't a tale of crime or mystery or a dark act driven by violence. It's something different, quieter, but in many ways, more haunting. This is the story of a boy who endured something most of us can hardly imagine, a medical procedure that changed his life forever. It's a story about courage, about the strength it takes to rebuild a life after it's been altered in ways beyond your control. Howard Dully was only 12 years old when doctors decided that something was wrong with him and that the answer lay in a procedure called a transorbital lobotomy. In the years that followed, Howard would lose pieces of his memory, his sense of self, and much of his childhood. But he would also find, in time, a way to reclaim his voice and his story. This is a story about a young boy called Howard Dully. It is not sensational, nor is dramatized. It is the story of a boy whose childhood was quietly interrupted in a way that history now looks back upon with sorrow and reflection. Imagine California in the 1960s. Suburban streets bathed in sunlight, children riding bicycles, neighbors waving as they tend their gardens. A place that seemed peaceful, ordinary. And in one of those homes lived a boy named Howard Dully. Howard was by all appearances an ordinary child. Curious, sensitive, imaginative. He had moments of joy, moments of fear, and like all children, he struggled to understand the world around him. But his family's life was complicated. His parents' marriage was strained, their own lives burdened with difficulties, and in that environment, Howard often felt misunderstood. When he was 12 years old, Howard's life took a turn that would define him forever. On the recommendation of a psychiatrist, his parents took him to see Dr. Walter Freeman, a neurologist known for performing a procedure called the transorbital lobotomy, sometimes called the ice pick lobotomy. It was presented to them as a solution, a way to help children like Howard, who were considered difficult or emotionally troubled. Howard did not fully understand what would happen. The procedure itself was brief. Freeman inserted an instrument through Howard's eye socket and into his brain, severing connections in the prefrontal cortex. The boy who had once imagined worlds, who had laughter and curiosity, was permanently changed in that moment. In the years that followed, Howard struggled. He had difficulty understanding his emotions. Memories became fragmented, life felt heavier, and the simple joys of childhood were muted. But this is not only a story of loss, it is also a story of resilience. As an adult, Howard sought to understand what had happened to him. He shared his story publicly, writing a memoir and speaking about his experience. He became a voice for those who cannot speak for themselves, advocating for awareness, ethical medical care, and the importance of consent. Howard's story asks us to reflect not only on the medical practices of the past, but on the human cost of decisions made by authority figures, even those who believe they were helping. It reminds us of the fragility of childhood and the strength it takes to reclaim your life after it had been disrupted. He is remembered now, not just for what was done to him, but for the courage he found in later life, the courage to tell the truth about his own experience and to turn that truth into something meaningful. Howard Dully's story is a quiet reminder, a reminder to listen to children, to question authority, to treat vulnerability with care, and to honor the voices of those who have endured more than they should have had to. This has been a reminder of the life of Howard Dully, a boy who endured an unthinkable procedure, and a man who found his voice decades later. May his story guide us to look at history with compassion and to act with care in the present. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. Until next time, stay safe.